My name's Benjamin Clark Reed. I'm 31 years old, with messy, dark brown hair that sticks up in the back, no matter what I do to it. Bright hazel eyes that turn more gold when I'm excited about an idea, and a boyish face that makes me look younger than my age, round cheeks, a small dimple in my chin, and the kind of smile that makes people trust me immediately. I'm 5'8", have the lean build of someone who forgets to eat when they're coding, and my fingers are permanently stained from the dry erase markers I use on whiteboards when I'm working through complex algorithms. I wear the same uniform every day, dark jeans, plain t-shirts, and beat-up Converse sneakers, because fashion is a distraction from building things that matter. I'm a software engineer and entrepreneur. Or I was until my co-founder decided he didn't need me anymore and took everything we'd built together. The story begins 3 years ago in my cramped studio apartment in San Francisco, where I was working nights and weekends on an idea that wouldn't leave me alone. Machine learning algorithms that could predict consumer behavior patterns with unprecedented accuracy. Not just what people might buy, but when they'd buy it, why they'd buy it, and how to present products in ways that felt natural rather than manipulative. The technology was revolutionary. Instead of using traditional demographic data, my algorithms analyzed micro-behavioral patterns, how long someone paused before clicking, which products they viewed but didn't purchase, how their browsing habits changed based on time of day or recent life events. The system could predict purchase intent with 94% accuracy, compared to industry standards of around 60%. I'd been developing the core technology for 8 months when I realized I needed a business partner. Someone who understood marketing, sales, and the commercial applications of what I'd built. Someone who could translate my technical innovations into something investors and clients would understand. That's when I met David Chun at a startup networking event in Soma. David was everything I wasn't as an entrepreneur. Polished, articulate, with an MBA from Stanford and 5 years of experience in business development at major tech companies. He wore expensive suits, drove a Tesla, and had the kind of confident handshake that made venture capitalists write checks. "Your algorithm sounds incredible," David said after I'd given him a technical overview of my behavioral prediction system. "But the real value is in the business model. How do you monetize insights like that?" It was exactly the right question, and David was clearly the right person to help me find the answer. "I've been thinking about SaaS licensing," I said. "Sell the technology to e-commerce companies as a subscription service." That's one approach, but what if we thought bigger? What if we built the platform that every online retailer needs to survive in the age of AI-driven commerce? Over the next 2 hours, David outlined a vision that was more ambitious than anything I'd considered. Instead of just licensing my algorithms, we'd create a comprehensive platform, Predict Flow, that would integrate with existing e-commerce systems and provide real-time behavioral analytics, dynamic pricing recommendations, and personalized product placement. "I can handle all the business development, fundraising, and client acquisition," David offered. "You focus on the technology and product development. 50-50 partnership, equal equity split." It seemed perfect. I had the technical skills to build something revolutionary, and David had the business acumen to make it successful. We shook hands that night and started Predict Flow the next morning. The first year exceeded every projection we'd made. My algorithms worked exactly as promised, delivering behavioral predictions that helped our early clients increase conversion rates by an average of 40%. David proved to be a brilliant salesperson, closing deals with major retailers and securing partnerships with established e-commerce platforms. By month 10, we'd raised $2.5 million in seed funding from a Tier 1 venture capital firm. By month 12, we had 30 employees and were processing behavioral data for over 200 online stores. "Ben, this is incredible," David said during one of our weekly check-ins. "Your technology is literally changing how e-commerce works." I was proud of what we'd built together. The algorithms I'd developed in my apartment were now powering purchasing decisions for millions of consumers. The behavioral patterns I'd identified were being used by major brands to create more intuitive shopping experiences. But success brought new challenges that I wasn't prepared for. As PredictFlow grew, David started handling more of the external relationships while I focused on product development. He managed investor relations, client meetings, media interviews, and strategic partnerships. I managed the engineering team, algorithm improvements, and technical infrastructure. The division of labor made sense, but it also meant that David became the public face of the company while I remained behind the scenes. David Chun, co-founder and CEO of PredictFlow, believes that AI will revolutionize retail within the next 5 years. Read a TechCrunch profile published in our second year. CEO? We'd never discussed titles or hierarchy. In my mind, we were equal partners running the company together. When I asked David about the CEO designation, he explained it as a practical necessity. Investors and clients need clear leadership structure, he said. CEO-CTO roles make more sense than co-founder for external communications. So I'm the CTO? You're the Chief Technology Officer, yeah. You handle all the technical decisions, I handle business strategy. Same partnership, clearer titles? It seemed reasonable at the time, though I noticed that media coverage started referring to David as PredictFlow's founder while describing me as the lead engineer or technical co-founder. The second red flag came during our Series A fundraising process. We need to restructure the cap table before we bring in larger investors, David announced during a board meeting. VCs want to see founder equity that reflects contribution and role differentiation. What does that mean? I asked. You'll retain significant equity as CTO and technical founder? But as CEO, I need controlling interest to make strategic decisions quickly. David proposed reducing my equity from 50% to 35%, with the remainder going toward an employee stock option pool and his increased CEO allocation. This is standard for scaling startups, our lead investor assured me. Technical founders typically hold 25 to 40% equity, while business founders hold controlling stakes. I didn't like it, but I also didn't want to derail our fundraising process. David had brought in the investors, negotiated the terms, and was managing the entire Series A process. Fighting about equity allocation seemed selfish when we were raising $10 million to accelerate our growth. I agreed to the restructure. The third red flag was more subtle but more troubling. During product development meetings, David started questioning my technical decisions in ways that felt less like collaboration and more like oversight. Do we really need to rebuild the recommendation engine? He'd ask when I proposed algorithmic improvements. The current system works fine. It works, but I've identified optimization opportunities that could improve prediction accuracy by 15%. How long would that take to implement? Maybe 6 weeks with the full engineering team. 6 weeks where we're not shipping new features to clients. Is the ROI worth the development time? These conversations frustrated me because David was making technical trade-off decisions without understanding the underlying technology. He'd learned enough about our algorithms to discuss them in sales meetings, but he didn't understand the engineering complexity required to maintain competitive advantages. David, the algorithms are what differentiate us from competitors, I explained during one particularly tense product meeting. If we stop innovating technically, we're just another analytics platform. And if we over-engineer solutions instead of focusing on client needs, we're just another failed startup with great technology. The disagreement reflected a fundamental difference in how we viewed PredictFlow's future. I wanted to continue pushing the boundaries of behavioral prediction technology. David wanted to optimize for short-term revenue growth and market share expansion. Both approaches had merit, but David's position as CEO gave his perspective more weight in strategic decisions. The breaking point came during our second year, when David scheduled a meeting with our board of directors without including me. What was the board meeting about? I asked him afterward. Just routine investor relations stuff. Quarterly projections, hiring plans, competitive analysis. Why wasn't I invited? It was focused on business strategy rather than technical roadmap. I didn't want to waste your time with operational details. But I found out later, through conversations with our engineering team, that the meeting had covered much more than operational details. David had presented a new product strategy that would pivot, Predict flow away from advanced behavioral algorithms towards simpler, more scalable analytics tools. The board thinks we're overinvesting in R&D, one of our senior engineers told me confidentially. David's proposing to reduce the technical team and focus on sales and marketing. I scheduled a meeting with David immediately. Is it true that you're planning to reduce our engineering resources? I asked. We're optimizing team allocation based on current market demands. David, the engineering team is what builds the products that create our market demand. The engineering team is also our largest cost center. We need to balance innovation with profitability. So you made this decision without consulting the CTO? I made this recommendation to our board based on financial analysis and strategic planning. As CEO, that's my responsibility. We stared at each other across the conference table in our downtown San Francisco office. The same space where we'd celebrated our first $1 million in revenue. Our successful Series A, our growing team of talented engineers and data scientists. David, I built the technology that this entire company is based on. Every algorithm, every prediction model, every innovative feature that differentiates us from competitors that came from my work, and you've been well compensated for that work. But building a technology and scaling a business are different challenges. So what's my role going forward? You continue leading product development within the strategic framework that maximizes company value. I understood then what was happening. David had positioned himself as the indispensable business leader while relegating me to a technical implementer role. The algorithms I'd invented, the company I'd co-founded, the vision I'd helped create, all of it was now David's to control and direct. That evening, I sat in my apartment reviewing our original partnership agreement. Legally, David couldn't force me out without cause, but he could marginalize my influence, reduce my team's resources, and redirect the company away from the technical innovation that had made us successful. I had two choices: accept a diminished role in the company I'd co-founded, or find a way to remind David exactly what he'd be losing if he continued down this path. I chose the latter. My first move was documentation. Over the next week, I carefully archived every piece of technical documentation, algorithm specification, and engineering process that I'd developed for PredictFlow. Not to steal company property, but to clarify exactly which innovations were my intellectual contributions versus collaborative team efforts. The results were striking. Nearly 90% of our core technology had originated from my individual work before. David joined the company or from my direct engineering oversight afterward. The behavioral prediction algorithms, the data processing pipelines, the machine learning models that powered our entire platform, all of it traced back to my technical leadership. My second move was strategic. Instead of fighting David's proposal to reduce R&D investment, I supported it enthusiastically. You're right, I told him during our next strategy meeting. We should optimize for short-term revenue growth rather than long-term technical differentiation. David seemed surprised by my agreement, but pleased that we were aligned on company direction. Great, I think this approach will show immediate results in our quarterly numbers. Over the following months, I implemented exactly what David had requested. I reduced our engineering team from 12 developers to 6. I simplified our algorithms to prioritize processing speed over prediction accuracy. I eliminated the research projects that were developing next-generation behavioral analysis tools. The results were exactly what I'd expected. Our simplified algorithms delivered faster results but with lower accuracy rates. Client conversion improvements dropped from an average of 40% to around 25%. Our competitive advantages eroded as other companies implemented similar basic analytics tools. Most importantly, we stopped innovating. The revolutionary behavioral prediction technology that had made PredictFlow valuable became just another commodity analytics service. Why are our client satisfaction scores declining? David asked during a quarterly review meeting. The algorithm simplifications you requested are working as designed, I said. Faster processing, lower resource requirements, reduced accuracy. I didn't ask for reduced accuracy. Reduced accuracy is the natural trade-off for the optimization priorities you specified. David looked frustrated. Can't we maintain accuracy while improving efficiency? Not with the engineering resources you allocated. Advanced algorithms require sophisticated development and maintenance. So add more engineers. The engineers we need are working for competitors now. We eliminated our R&D team 6 months ago. Over the following quarter, 3 major clients canceled their PredictFlow subscriptions in favor of competitors who offered more sophisticated behavioral analytics. Our revenue growth stalled, then declined. Industry publications that had previously featured David as a visionary startup founder began questioning whether PredictFlow could maintain its market position. That's when David scheduled another private meeting. Ben, I think we need to refocus on technical innovation. What kind of technical innovation? The advanced algorithms we were developing before. The next generation behavioral prediction tools. We eliminated those research projects to optimize for short-term revenue. Right, but maybe we can restart them. Rebuild the engineering team, invest in R&D again. I looked at David across the conference table, realizing that he finally understood the connection between technical innovation and business success. That's possible, I said. But it would require significant investment in engineering talent and research infrastructure. How much investment? Probably 18 months and $2 million in additional development costs to rebuild what we eliminated. And you could lead that effort? I could lead that effort. David seemed relieved. Let's move forward with expanding the technical team and restarting our algorithm development projects. There's just one thing, I said. What's that? I'm not going to rebuild PredictFlow's technology as an employee. If you want me to restore our competitive advantages, I need equity that reflects my contribution to the company's value. David's expression changed. What are you proposing? Equal partnership. 50-50 equity split, co-CEO structure, joint decision-making on all strategic directions. Ben, we've already structured the company around differentiated leadership roles. And how's that working out for us? We both knew the answer. PredictFlow was declining because David had prioritized business optimization over technical innovation, not understanding that our business success was entirely dependent on technical superiority. I need to discuss this with our board, David said. Of course. But while you're discussing it, our competitors are gaining market share with the kinds of advanced algorithms we used to develop. The board meeting took place the following week. This time I was invited to participate. David's presented the technical revitalization proposal, our lead investor said. The question is whether PredictFlow can regain its competitive position and justify the additional investment. That depends on whether you want to be a premium technology company or a commodity analytics service, I said. The algorithms that made us successful require significant R&D investment and technical leadership. And you're the person to provide that technical leadership? I'm the person who created the algorithms that built this company's original value. The investor looked at David, then back at me. What's your assessment of PredictFlow's current market position? We're declining because we stopped innovating. Our simplified algorithms are adequate but not differentiated. Competitors are gaining market share by offering the kinds of advanced features we eliminated. And you can restore those competitive advantages? I can build better algorithms than anything our competitors currently offer. But not as ACTO reporting to someone who doesn't understand the technology. The room was quiet for a moment. What kind of structure would you need? The investor asked. Co-founder equity and joint leadership. Technical decisions made by the technical founder, business decisions made collaboratively. David spoke up. That's essentially a complete restructure of our leadership hierarchy. Yes, I said. Because the current leadership hierarchy isn't working. The board voted to approve my proposal. David retained his CEO title and business leadership responsibilities, but I regained co-founder status with expanded equity and authority over technical strategy. Within 6 months, we'd rebuilt our engineering team and launched next-generation behavioral prediction algorithms that outperformed anything available in the market. Client satisfaction scores improved, revenue growth resumed, and industry publications again featured PredictFlow as an innovative leader in AI-driven commerce. David and I continued working together for another year before he decided to pursue other opportunities. He took a business development role at a larger tech company where he could focus on commercial strategy without needing to understand complex technical systems. I bought out his remaining equity and became PredictFlow's sole founder and CEO. The company continues to grow, powered by advanced behavioral algorithms that most competitors still can't match. We've raised additional funding, expanded internationally, and maintained our position as the premium technology provider in our market. But the most satisfying part isn't the business success. It's the recognition that technical innovation and business strategy are equally important for building something valuable. David taught me about sales, marketing, and investor relations. I taught him that sustainable competitive advantages come from capabilities your competitors can't easily replicate. The difference is that I learned his lessons while he never quite understood mine. Some partnerships work because both people bring essential skills to the collaboration. Others fail because one person assumes their contribution is more valuable than their partner's. The successful ones are built on mutual respect for different kinds of expertise. The failed ones are built on the assumption that business acumen is more important than technical innovation, or vice versa. I'm grateful for what David taught me about entrepreneurship, but I'm more grateful for what our partnership taught me about the difference between collaboration and control. Building something valuable requires both vision and execution. But maintaining control of what you've built requires understanding which contributions are truly irreplaceable.